Tonight, the death of a patient at Saskatoon's Royal University Hospital is raising questions about training for security officers. RCMP use a drone to rescue 2 people lost in the forest near Prince Albert. And how a Nobel Peace Prize snub could be fueling Donald Trump's push to take over Greenland.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Monday, January 19th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. I'm Ethan Williams. Thank you for joining us. The death of a patient at Saskatoon's Royal University Hospital following an altercation with security officers is raising questions about their training and if it's enough to handle complex situations. Helena Mahalik has our top story.
40 hours. That's how much training is needed to become a security officer in Saskatchewan, as well as in Manitoba, BC, and Ontario. Police are investigating 2 separate incidents in Saskatchewan hospitals where security officers may have played a role in the death or mistreatment of patients. One expert says more training is needed.
Somebody who has received 40 hours of training is not the individual you want dealing with a citizen experiencing mental distress.
Mental distress, de-escalation, the use of batons and handcuffs. They're all topics not included in the 40-hour course.
It is a theory program. There's really no hands-on applications, and there aren't really any scenario-based training added into this portion.
If you pass the exam with at least 75%, you can work with any company or institution. But it's up to them or yourself to invest in further training. The course teaches the duties of a security officer and their legal rights. But a former police officer says he wants an emphasis on mental health and de-escalation training.
How to recognize and respond to people exhibiting signs of social and mental health or in crisis, substance abuse, drug abuse, being angry, being upset, being overwhelmed by something that's happened to you or another.
But nurses in Saskatoon say they face a lot of violence on the job, and security plays a critical role in ensuring their safety, including their right to physically intervene.
With the frequency of our phone calls around weapons and around violence, they're getting all those phone calls. They're responding every time we need help. And so as soon as they hear there may be a weapon, they come running as quick as they can. The Saskatchewan Health Authority says it employs some security officers, while others are employed by a third party. But all of them receive a minimum of 100 hours of training with ongoing support as needed while working in hospitals. Helena Mahalik, CBC News, Saskatoon.
RCMP say a drone was instrumental in helping officers rescue 2 people from the forest near Prince Albert in the middle of the night. And as Lisa Rism explains, thermal imaging and having eyes in the sky is changing the face of police work.
The call came in at 3 a.m. A man and a woman lost in the forest after fleeing a gunman. They'd been assaulted and shot at. RCMP began their search with a drone. Staff Sergeant Steve Hurst says it was a frigid night and officers knew they had to move quickly.
The detachment from Staff Hurst.
RCMP used a drone with thermal imaging to find the man. Then a spotlight on the drone lit the man's path to the highway. The drone located the woman in an SUV stuck in deep snow. RCMP used the GPS coordinates to rescue her with snow machines.
Not knowing exactly where they were, the injuries could have been much more serious, whether it was due to exposure, and could potentially have been fatal depending on how long they would have been out there and exposed to the elements.
Saskatchewan RCMP now have a drone and trained operators in every detachment in the province. The provincial drone instructor says the technology is a game changer for police.
Across the country by us and a variety of other, emergency response personnel that are using them, they really are revolutionary and a game-changing kind of how we do our job. And even the amount and level of success that we're having is unprecedented, I would say.
RCMP also used Sky Fury, a large fixed-wing drone with a range of 30 kilometers. 2 rapid response drone teams are on call 24/7 in the province, used in search and rescue operations and to locate and arrest suspects. RCMP are adapting to the technology and last year used drones in over 1,000 flights. As for the pair rescued in this mission,
They were extremely happy to be located.
Lisa Rism, CBC News, Prince Albert.
An icon in Saskatoon's legal community has died. Morris Bodnar worked as a defense lawyer for decades. Bodnar was also a federal Liberal MP between 1993 and 1997, representing the riding of Saskatoon-Dundurn. Members of Saskatoon's law community say Bodnar was kind, down to earth, and a legal genius.
He's just so smooth when he's speaking. And I must have watched him do 30 jury addresses in my career, and that was his time to shine. I don't think there was a better lawyer for doing jury trials in Saskatchewan history.
Bodnar's last case before retiring was the Greg Furtuck murder trial. He represented Furtuck before withdrawing as his lawyer in 2022. Furtuck was eventually found guilty of killing his wife Sherry at a gravel pit near Kenniston. Morris Bodnar was 77. The University of Regina has announced it will be home to a new nuclear energy testing centre. It's the first in Western Canada devoted to smaller, more portable types of nuclear technology. Small modular nuclear reactors are considered to be more efficient and safer than traditional nuclear power plants. The federal government is providing nearly $2 million to the research, while additional money is coming from Sask Power and Innovation Sask.
Anytime you can find cheap, but not at the risk of the environment, but very affordable power sources, then it's important and incumbent upon every government to look at what options are out there.
U of R President Jeff Keshen says he hopes the centre makes Saskatchewan a global superpower in energy development. The centre is expected to be opened by 2034. Donald Trump is ratcheting up the pressure on the international community to let him take over Greenland. But European leaders are not rolling over. Now, in addition to sending a small contingent of troops to the Danish-owned island, they've called an emergency summit for later this week about the U.S. president's plan. That, as they ponder whether Trump's aggression is linked to a certain peace prize. Chris Brown has the latest.
More Danish boots on the ground arrived in Greenland, with Europe in full emergency mode over Donald Trump's threats to take over the island. A new text conversation is fueling the sense that his Greenland obsession may really be about sour grapes. Norway's prime minister texted in part to Trump, "We believe we all should work to take this down and de-escalate." Trump replied, "Considering your country decided not to give me the Nobel Peace Prize for having stopped 8 wars plus, I no longer feel an obligation to think purely of peace."
Donald Trump to America.
In fact, it's not Norway's government that hands out the prize.
I think the particular choice of words certainly relates to the fact that he's sort of a hissy fit about not getting the prize.
Despite the text being released and confirmed by Norway's government, Trump's Treasury Secretary was dismissive.
It's a complete canard that the president will be doing this because of the Nobel Prize.
Trump has said the U.S. needs title to Greenland, which is an autonomous territory of Denmark, to stop Russia or China from getting it. He's vowed to hit 8 European NATO nations who recently sent troops to Greenland with tariffs starting next month until he gets what he wants. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz underscored Europe has options for retaliation, with tariffs of its own or restrictions on U.S. businesses, as other leaders signaled a kind of reluctant resolve.
We are living in 2026. You can trade with people, but you don't trade people.
The right way to approach an issue of this seriousness is through calm discussion between allies.
Greenland not for sale! Trump's threats have generated strong anti-U.S. sentiments in Europe. At this NBA game in London Sunday night, a heckler's call out to leave Greenland alone got a rousing ovation. Chris Brown, CBC News, London.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Mark Carney has touched down in Switzerland. It's Carney's third and final stop on a trip that's taken him around the world. But as Carney tries to distance Canada from its southern neighbor, he could run into Donald Trump while he's there. They're both expected to speak at the World Economic Forum. Carney told journalists Sunday he's concerned about the escalation over Greenland and is weighing a plan to send a small contingent of troops there to take part in sovereignty exercises that are being planned. Well, collectors of all kinds stopped in at the Mayfair Collectibles Show and Sale in Saskatoon this weekend. It featured a bunch of different kinds of cards for those interested in Pokemon and pop culture, all the way to sports cards and even coins. A little something for every collector. Stay with us. We have more news, and weather specialist Mickey Wolf has your forecast after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. A disturbing story out of Manitoba to tell you about. It concerns a child being exploited on social media. The shocking part of it, just how young the victim is. Michelle Allen has the details and a warning, some may find parts of this story disturbing.
A 7-year-old Manitoba girl was sexually exploited on Snapchat while just one room away from her mother, coerced into sending explicit photos and videos by a stranger. Her mother found pictures of the man's genitals on the phone. A victim that young might be shocking to some, not to Detective Sergeant Mike Olson.
Under 10, it used to be a surprise. Now I would say it's more common.
CBC obtained an RCMP production order requesting the Snapchat account data to try and track down who contacted the girl. Olson wasn't involved in this specific case, but has investigated many like it.
It's probably more just with kids that are spending more time. The more time on these devices, the higher the chance that these kind of things can happen.
Olson recommends supervising children whenever they're online, but he also says companies like Snapchat need to do more to prevent it. The Canadian Centre for Child Protection says it's received over 1,200 reports of children under 13 being lured online. The #1 platform? Snapchat.
They'll often refer to things like Instagram or Snapchat as a phone book for children because you can easily just find kids and perhaps send a friend request or perhaps kind of somehow get into their friend group.
Welcome to Snapchat's Family Center, your go-to hub for tools and resources to help.
Snapchat says users need to be 13 and up. It has some parental controls on teen accounts. Parents can see a week-long history of who their kids are chatting with.
In the same way parents can't see or hear their teens' everyday personal and private communications, parents won't be able to view their teens' conversations or snaps.
It's essentially designed to download responsibility onto the end user and kids inside of these inherently dangerously designed environments, and the platforms somehow absolve themselves of responsibility.
Marcoux says parental supervision can only go so far. He says social media apps make money off people using them, including kids, and won't increase their security willingly. Unless Canada passes laws forcing them to meet safety codes, Marcoux says more Canadian children will be exploited. As for the case of the 7-year-old Manitoba girl, RCMP found the man in the United Kingdom. Now it's up to police there to investigate. Michelle Allen, CBC News, Winnipeg.
And weather specialist Mickey Wolf joins us now. A windy end to the week. Last week, a windy weekend. Now it seems like the colder weather is here, but at least not quite as windy today, Mickey.
At least not quite as windy for now, Ethan. We're seeing a little bit of a breeze making a return to the province tomorrow morning, but warmer weather, like Ethan said. Let's take a look at our daytime highs today across the province. We saw some pretty nice temperatures for January. We're starting to see that slow descent towards -20 across the south and central regions. And our cloud cover over the past few hours, it's a little bit significant. We're seeing some more clouds coming in to Saskatchewan and that's going to trend until Thursday. So overnight tonight, we might see some snow coming into the province, especially in that southwest corner. We're getting a little bit of snowfall overnight. We will see some accumulation for south and central Saskatchewan, and then Tuesday morning into the evening time, we're going to see that snow making its way across the province from the north down south, and then Wednesday we'll have a little bit of cloud cover to contend with in the province before things open up Thursday. But what about that snowfall? Let's take a look at this accumulation. So we're going to see up to 4 centimeters for south and central by Tuesday at noon, and then as we get into the evening, we'll see a little bit more snowfall, especially for the southwest. We might see up to 9 centimeters for Swift Current, and in the north, that snowfall is going to look a little bit more gradual over Tuesday into Wednesday, up to 7 centimeters potentially for Buffalo Narrows. But what about those winds? Well, we're seeing that gusting start in the south, especially up to 50 kilometers an hour, and then overnight Wednesday, we will see gusting potentially in excess of 70 kilometers an hour for the southwest, and that's bringing with it some chillier temperatures with our wind chill values here for south and central Saskatchewan. You know, those warmer January days are a little bit behind us by this point in the month to close things out. So we're seeing those very cold temperatures for Regina as we get into Friday with wind chill. We're looking at temperatures near minus 33, those overnights very cold for the next few days ahead of us before things start to even out a little bit for Monday. As for Saskatoon, we are seeing a very cold Friday evening as well. Those daytime wind chills Thursday, Friday into the minus 30s. So things are going to feel quite cold until we get into Saturday, Sunday. We start to see a bit of a gradual warm up Monday, but we've got those colder overnights to contend with, Ethan. So, you know, we're out of that blizzard zone we saw to cap off last year, but now we're starting to see those cold January temperatures.
Well, see, I knew I jinxed it. I said the wind is done with, and now it's coming back. Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's all on you, Ethan.
I'll take the blame on this one. It's fine. Thanks, Mickey.
Thank you.
Well, it looks like the party is over for the craft beer industry, and not just because of dry January. Sales have been falling for a while, and the number of Canadian breweries is declining. Paula Duhatchuk looks at the reasons why.
This beer maker says in his industry, change is brewing.
We've seen it across the board, whether it's changing in drinking styles or just where the economy's at, where definitely sales are down.
In a 5-year period, the number of breweries in Canada climbed to more than 1,100, but that number has flattened and last year shrank by nearly 3%, according to this analyst.
Seeing an end to that growth in and of itself is significant. The growth phase of the industry is over.
Some say it was bound to happen eventually.
For years and years, we saw this massive expansion that happened really, really quickly within the industry. And with that came a lot of new entrants, and not a lot of whom had really long-term business models.
Tastes and habits are also changing. Beer Canada says sales across the industry are down, and it says younger generations aren't drinking the way their parents did.
I know anecdotally a lot of the people that I knew actually stopped drinking altogether, including myself.
This former brewery owner is back to working in finance after closing his doors in 2025. He says the decision was driven by a combination of factors: bad timing, funding challenges, and a change in their core customer.
We just had to cut our losses and unfortunately learn from it and move on.
What COVID did, I think, is changed people's entertainment habits. And so what it's meant for breweries is they've had to work much harder to get bums in chairs.
He says breweries are still finding success by learning to branch out.
Obviously, when we see the customer's taste change, that's like a big one for us and number one. So, you know, we had to reevaluate what products we're making, what beers are going out the door.
These days, one of his top sellers isn't a beer at all. It's a craft iced tea. Paula Duhatchuk, CBC News, Calgary.
Well, we may be knee-deep in winter here in Canada, but the Netherlands is seeing its first signs of spring. Doesn't that just make you jealous? Thousands of people flocked to a square in Amsterdam over the weekend to celebrate National Tulip Day. Dutch growers gave away 200,000 flowers at the event. The Netherlands is the world's largest producer of cut tulips. It also sends Canada 20,000 bulbs every year as a thank you for its role in liberating the country during the Second World War and for providing refugee for the Dutch royal family. Stay with us, we have more news, and no tulip weather just yet. Stay with us. Welcome back. The latest snapshot on inflation is out, and yes, prices are going up for Canadians. Stats Canada says the inflation rate rose slightly in December to 2.4%. That's up from 2.2% in November. The year-over-year rise was driven largely by the end of Ottawa's GST holiday back in December of 2024. Of particular note, the price of coffee was up more than 30% last month, while the cost of beef rose 16.8%. Gasoline, in contrast, went down nearly 14%. And Mickey, it seems like those temperatures are going to be inflating in the wrong direction, getting much colder.
Ethan, yeah, we're seeing some deflation with the temperatures, I think, some shrinking, especially in the cold weather. Let's take a look at our overnight temperatures across the province where things are cooling down, but not as cold as we'll see into the week. We've got temperatures creeping towards -20 across south and central Saskatchewan, and in the far north, we're seeing those overnight lows close to -30. But as we get into later in the day tomorrow, we are going to see a bit of a sunny break there for the far north. We will see those temperatures start to rise as we get into the midday, just a little bit near 10 degrees for the Churchill region. Down in the south, we are going to see some temperatures warming up a bit before things really drop off into the week. We're seeing those temperatures near -10 and a little bit warmer for the southwest tomorrow in the province. So Ethan, tomorrow might be the last day to kind of soak up that warmer January temperature before things freeze.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Mickey.
Thank you.
Well, a Fort Capel teenager didn't hesitate when he saw two seniors slipping on ice in Regina last week. Grade 11 student Blaze Beach and his dad were leaving an appointment when he saw the women near the casino trying to catch a cab.
I don't know. I didn't think much of it. I was just like, I just need to go help them and help them get up. And so I just ran over there as quick as I could because I knew they must be hurt falling on the ground. So I just ran over to help. That's all I thought to go do.
Beach not only helped the women up, but offered them a ride home. They dropped both seniors off safely at home uninjured, then drove back to Fort Capel. A good Samaritan indeed. That is our news for this Monday. For more news anytime, you can head to our website or subscribe to the CBC Saskatchewan YouTube channel. And of course, you can also download the CBC News app on your smartphone or tablet. Thanks so much for watching.